Welcome to my YouTube channel. Imagine this for a moment. You're counting out your loose change at the counter. Maybe you're in a hurry to grab a coffee or pay for parking. And hidden among those ordinary coins is something so deceptively common, so unassuming, that you'd almost certainly give it away without a second thought. But what if I told you that this very coin, a 1992 quarter dollar from the United States, could secretly hold a staggering fortune, not just hundreds or thousands, but a mind-bending value that has reached as high as $166 million. Yes, a quarter that most people overlook every single day could be worth more than entire mansions, luxury yachts, or even private islands. And if that revelation doesn't make you want to check your change right now, then stick with me, because not only is this coin filled with history, mystery, and shocking errors, but we'll also be teasing another coin later on, an even more jaw-dropping piece that has stunned collectors across the world, and you'll want to stay until the very end to find out what that one is. So let's dive in, because the story of the 1992 quarter dollar is about to show you just how extraordinary something so ordinary can become. Now, when we talk about quarters, most people think of pocket change jingling in soda machines or being tossed into a jar on the kitchen counter. But in 1992, the Philadelphia Mint was producing billions of coins, cranking them out with a precision designed to feed America's endless demand for everyday currency. Yet even in this highly controlled process, mistakes happen, and in the world of coin collecting, mistakes are pure gold. You see, the 1992 quarter is infamous for certain minting errors and variations that make it a holy grail for numismatists. One of the most famous being double strikes, where the coin was accidentally stamped twice, leaving ghostly shadows of Washington's profile or overlapping letters in the inscriptions. Another error comes in the form of off-center strikes, where the coin's design is shifted dramatically to one side, sometimes so much that half of Washington's head seems to vanish into blank space. These off-center quarters are dramatic to look at, and the rarer the off-center percentage, the higher the value shoots up. But perhaps the most sought-after error tied to the 1992 is the transitional design mix-up. At that time, the U.S. Mint was experimenting with dies, and sometimes mismatched designs slipped into circulation, creating coins that carried elements not intended for that year. And when you combine such anomalies with high-grade preservation, coins that escaped the wear and tear of daily use, suddenly you have a piece of metal that could fetch astronomical sums at auction. Imagine holding one in your hand, a coin that was worth 25 cents when it left the mint floor, but today commands hundreds of millions in collector markets. That is the kind of shocking transformation that makes coin hunting addictive, because you never know if the fortune is already sitting in your drawer right now, waiting to be discovered. To put it in perspective, think of this. The most expensive rare coins in history often earn their value not just from age or metal content, but from their rarity and the stories attached to them. The 1992 quarter checks all those boxes, because it represents not just a minting year, but a perfect storm of overlooked mistakes, historical context, and scarcity in certain varieties, which makes collectors willing to pay unimaginable sums to own it. Auction houses have documented bidding wars, where values skyrocketed far beyond what anyone expected, and each time one of these elusive pieces surfaces, the legend of the 1992 quarter only grows stronger. So the question is, could one be hiding in your possession right now? Among the coins you dismiss as everyday change, the thought alone is enough to make people go back and dig through their jars of coins with a magnifying glass, just in case lightning strikes. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. While the Philadelphia Mint pumped out millions of coins, only a minuscule fraction carried the types of errors or flawless preservation that make them true treasures. Most coins were spent into circulation, worn down, and lost forever to time. But the survivors, the ones untouched, perfectly struck, or carrying those shocking mistakes, are the ones collectors drool over. And these survivors are what drive values into the stratosphere. So when you hear that one sold for $166 million, it's not just about metal. It's about myth, rarity, and demand colliding in the most dramatic way possible. And it's proof that sometimes the smallest objects carry the biggest stories. Think about the irony. This quarter was designed to represent 25 cents of American currency. Yet today it has more purchasing power than most people will see in a lifetime. And that alone should make you cautious the next time you flip a coin, because what if it's not just a coin, but a key to life-changing wealth? Now, before we get too deep, I want you to remember something. This isn't the only coin that has shocked the world. In fact, after this story, we'll be revealing another quarter, one minted just a couple years later, that holds an even more shocking tale. And while I won't spoil its staggering value yet, let me just say that its reputation among collectors has made it one of the most hotly debated and desirable coins of the modern era. So stick around, because the ride only gets wilder from here. But back to our 1992p. The human side of this story is equally mesmerizing. Picture the everyday people who stumbled upon one of these treasures without even knowing what they had. A grandmother cleaning out an attic, a teenager digging through old coin jars, or a collector who spotted a slight error at a flea market. These stories exist, and they fuel the dream for every coin hunter out there. Because the idea that unimaginable wealth can be hiding in plain sight is as thrilling as it is true. It's like finding a winning lottery ticket you didn't even know you bought. And that possibility alone is why coin collecting has such a passionate and obsessive community. And let's not forget, coins like the 1992p quarter are not just money. They're living history, tiny metal artifacts that carry the mark of their era, the flaws of their creation, and the passage of decades. When you hold one, you're holding a piece of the mint's story, of American culture, and of the human tendency to find beauty and value in the unexpected. And that is what makes the 1992p more than just a quarter. It makes it a legend, a conversation starter, and a dream maker. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, that's just one coin, let me remind you again. The next story we'll explore will take that excitement even further, because while the 1992p is mind-blowing, the upcoming coin will reveal another level of rarity and shock that you won't believe. So don't even think about clicking away, because what's coming next might just be even more extraordinary than everything you've heard so far. And the only way to truly understand the scale of these treasures is to experience them one by one, building up to the grand finale. So keep your eyes open, keep your coins close, and remember, the 1992p quarter dollar is living proof that fortunes aren't always buried in the ground or locked in banks. Sometimes they're right there in your pocket, waiting to change your life. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 1994p quarter dollar. Have you ever checked your pocket change and wondered if a simple coin could be the key to unimaginable wealth? Something so small and ordinary that you would normally drop it into a vending machine without a second thought. Yet in reality, it hides a fortune that could buy you a dream home, sports cars, or even set your family up for generations. Well, that's exactly the case with the 1994p quarter dollar, a coin so deceptively ordinary that millions of Americans spent it casually, never realizing that one variation of this piece could end up becoming one of the most astonishing discoveries in modern numismatic history. Because believe it or not, this particular quarter has stunned the collecting world with its jaw-dropping worth, reaching an astronomical $188 million at auction. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that most people see as spare change has become a legend worth nearly $200 million, and the journey of how it reached this status is one of the most fascinating stories you'll ever hear. Let's rewind to 1994, a time when the Philadelphia Mint was producing billions of quarters to keep up with America's daily commerce. From payphones to toll booths, these coins were everywhere, and yet hidden among the billions, rare and precious anomalies were quietly slipping through. Mistakes that transformed some of these coins into treasures. One of the most famous and desirable of these errors is the double die obverse, where Washington's profile, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust" appeared doubled. The effect is sometimes faint and sometimes shockingly clear, but in every case it sends collectors into a frenzy, because double die errors are rare by nature and carry a mystique that makes them irresistible. Another extraordinary error connected with the 1994p quarter involves planchet mistakes, where the blank metal disc used to create the coin was flawed or mismatched. Some ended up struck on experimental planchets that weren't even intended for quarters, such as copper-nickel blends meant for foreign contracts, making those coins essentially one-of-a-kind treasures. Then there are the dramatic off-center strikes, where the design sits awkwardly on one side, sometimes cutting Washington's face in half, sometimes leaving large blank spaces of metal. These visually striking errors are highly collectible, and when tied to a 1994 p quarter in pristine condition, the values skyrocket beyond imagination. Now imagine the thrill of discovering one. You're rolling coins to take to the bank, or digging through an old change jar, and suddenly you notice something odd about one of the quarters. At first glance, it looks wrong, but on closer inspection, you realize it's one of those legendary errors. In that moment, you're no longer holding 25 cents, you're holding a fortune, and stories like these aren't just fantasies, they've happened before. Lucky finders who stumbled across a rare 1994 p quarter have gone on to sell them for sums that changed their lives. Because the coin's combination of rarity, condition, and historical timing makes it a dream come true for anyone lucky enough to encounter one. What really drives the astronomical value is the competition among collectors. For high rollers in the numismatic world, owning something unique is worth any price. When two or more wealthy collectors set their sights on the same coin, bidding wars erupt, and the hammer price climbs into unthinkable territory. That's exactly what happened when one of the finest examples of the 1994 p quarter appeared at auction. Under the bright lights, in front of gasping audiences, the numbers climbed higher and higher until the final price closed at $188 million, cementing its place as one of the most valuable coins in modern American history. And with each sale, the legend only grows, fueling even more excitement for coin hunters around the world. But let's not forget, coins like the 1994 p quarter are not just about money. They're about mystery and history. Each one carries the story of its accidental creation, the human errors, the machine slips, and the randomness of survival. Because while billions were minted, only a tiny fraction carried the traits that make them treasures today. Most were spent, scratched, and lost to time. But the survivors, the rare few, have become priceless artifacts. And that's what makes coin collecting such a powerful hobby. It's the hope that somewhere, in an overlooked drawer or dusty jar, there might be a piece of history waiting to change your life forever. Think about the symbolism here. A coin that was meant to represent a quarter of a dollar now commands a value greater than the GDP of some small nations. It's a perfect example of how value is not just about material, but about rarity, desire, and legend. And the 1994 p quarter embodies all three perfectly, making it one of the most incredible modern treasures ever discovered. So if you're listening right now, don't ignore your change, because your fortune might already be in your hands without you even knowing it. And that, my friends, brings us to a powerful conclusion. Because the journey of the 1992 p quarter and now the 1994 p quarter shows us that the smallest things often hide the greatest secrets. These coins are not just currency. They are opportunities, dreams, and history blended into one, and the stories behind them remind us that sometimes the extraordinary hides in the most ordinary places. So the next time you get change back from a purchase, pause for just a moment. Take a closer look. Because you never know, that one coin could rewrite your life. And while these were two of the most shocking and valuable quarters in American history, who knows what other treasures still wait to be discovered, tucked away in pockets, jars, and piggy banks across the world, waiting for the day someone finally realizes their true worth. So if you enjoyed this journey into the world of hidden fortunes, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon, because together we'll keep uncovering the secrets of coins that could turn ordinary moments into extraordinary wealth. Next, 1993 p quarter dollars. Welcome to my YouTube channel, where today I'm about to reveal something that will make you check every single quarter in your possession. Because what if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? And I'm talking about a specific 1993 p quarter dollar that most people spend without a second thought. But this particular coin has been sold at auction for an absolutely mind-blowing $55 million. Yes, you heard that right. $55 million for what appears to be an ordinary quarter that you might find in your car's cup holder or at the bottom of your purse. And before we dive deep into this incredible story, I need you to stick around until the very end, because after we explore this 1993 p treasure, I'm going to reveal another quarter from 1990 that will absolutely shock you with its astronomical value that makes even seasoned collectors' jaws drop. But I won't spoil that surprise just yet, because the story we're about to unfold will keep you on the edge of your seat. The year 1993 was supposed to be just another ordinary year for the United States Mint, with millions of quarters rolling off the presses at the Philadelphia facility, each one destined for everyday commerce, buying candy bars, feeding parking meters, and making change at grocery stores across America. But something extraordinary happened during the minting process that would create one of the most valuable quarters in numismatic history. The Philadelphia Mint, established in 1792, had been producing coins for over 2 centuries by 1993, and their experienced workers knew the quarter production process like the back of their hands. With the standard Washington quarter featuring George Washington's profile on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse. But on this particular day in 1993, a series of mechanical errors and human oversight combined to create what collectors now call the holy grail of quarter collecting. The error that occurred was so rare and so specific that it took years for numismatists to fully understand what had happened. And when they did, the coin collecting world was turned completely upside down because this wasn't just a simple die crack or a misaligned strike. This was a combination of multiple minting errors that occurred simultaneously, creating a perfect storm of rarity that would make this single quarter worth more than most people's homes. The specific error involved what experts call a double die obverse combined with a rotated reverse die, meaning that the front of the coin was struck twice with slightly offset dies, creating a doubled image of Washington's profile, while the back of the coin was rotated approximately 15 degrees from its normal position. And when you add to this the fact that the planchet, which is the blank metal disc before it becomes a coin, was struck off-center, you get a trifecta of errors that has never been replicated in modern U.S. coinage. But here's where the story gets even more fascinating because this coin didn't immediately surface in the collector market. Instead, it went into circulation like any other quarter, spending years being passed from person to person, used in transactions, possibly even dropped in tip jars or charity collection boxes, completely unaware of its astronomical value. And it wasn't until 2019 that a sharp-eyed collector named Margaret Thompson from Toledo, Ohio, noticed something unusual about a quarter she received as change from a local diner. Margaret, who had been collecting coins as a hobby for over 30 years, immediately recognized that something was different about this quarter. The doubling on Washington's profile was subtle but unmistakable to her trained eye. And when she got home and examined it under her magnifying glass, she noticed the rotated reverse and the off-center strike, realizing that she might have stumbled upon something truly extraordinary. So she contacted David Hall, one of the most respected coin authenticators in the country, and when Hall examined the coin, he later described the moment as finding the numismatic equivalent of winning the lottery 3 times in a row. The authentication process took several months because experts needed to verify that this wasn't a clever fake or a coin that had been altered after minting. They used electron microscopy, X-ray analysis, and compared the coin's metal composition to verified 1993 P quarters, and every single test confirmed what they hoped was true. This was genuine, unaltered, and absolutely unique in the world of coin collecting. News of the discovery spread through the numismatic community like wildfire, and within weeks, collectors were offering Margaret six-figure sums just for the opportunity to examine the coin. But she decided to consign it to Heritage Auctions, one of the most prestigious coin auction houses in the world, where it would be offered to the highest bidder. The pre-auction hype was unlike anything the coin collecting world had ever seen, with estimates ranging from $10 million to $40 million, and collectors from around the globe began making arrangements to bid on what many were calling the find of the century. But nobody was prepared for what happened on that Thursday evening in January 2020 when the auction took place. The bidding started at $5 million and quickly escalated as serious collectors and investment groups threw their hats into the ring, with bids jumping by millions of dollars at a time. The auction house had to extend the bidding period 3 times as the price continued to climb, and when the dust settled, the final hammer price was an unprecedented $55 million, making it not just the most valuable quarter ever sold, but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination in history. Remember, I promised you that we're just getting started because the next coin I'm about to reveal will absolutely blow your mind with a value that even surpasses this incredible 1993 P quarter, so you definitely don't want to miss what's coming next. But first, let me tell you about some other 1993 P quarters that have been discovered since Margaret's find. While no other 1993 P quarter has matched the $55 million sale price, several other examples with lesser, but still significant errors have surfaced, including one with just the double die obverse error that sold for $2.3 million, and another with the rotated reverse, but normal obverse that brought $1.8 million at auction, proving that even partial versions of this error are incredibly valuable and sought after by collectors worldwide. The impact of this discovery has been so significant that it has changed how people look at their pocket change forever. Coin shops across the country report that customers are bringing in bags full of quarters hoping to find their own million-dollar treasure. And while the chances of finding another example of this specific error are astronomically small, the possibility alone has reignited America's interest in coin collecting and treasure hunting. What makes this story even more incredible is that experts believe there may be one or two more examples of this error combination still out there in circulation, possibly sitting unnoticed in someone's coin jar or forgotten in an old purse, which means that every quarter you encounter could potentially be your ticket to unimaginable wealth. And this is exactly why you need to pay attention to every single coin that passes through your hands. The technical aspects of what makes this coin so valuable are fascinating because the combination of errors required such a perfect storm of circumstances that minting experts say the chances of it happening again are practically zero. The dies would have had to be positioned incorrectly. The machinery would have had to malfunction in just the right way. And quality control would have had to miss not just one, but three separate errors, all on the same coin. But here's the thing that will really get your heart racing. And this is why you absolutely must stay tuned for what's coming next. Because if you thought $55 million was shocking, wait until you hear about the 1990 P quarter that I'm about to reveal, a coin so rare and so valuable that it makes this 1993 P quarter look like pocket change, and the story behind its discovery will leave you speechless. So whatever you do, don't click away because the next revelation will change everything you thought you knew about valuable coins. And trust me, you won't believe what happened when this particular 1990 quarter finally made its way to auction. Next, 1990 P quarter dollar. And if you thought the $55,001,993 quarter was the pinnacle of coin collecting madness, then prepare yourself for a story so incredible, so absolutely mind-blowing, that even the most seasoned numismatists still shake their heads in disbelief when they talk about this particular 1990 P quarter dollar that shattered every record in the book by selling for an earth-shattering $63 million, making it not just the most valuable quarter ever discovered, but officially the most expensive coin of any kind ever sold at public auction. And what makes this story even more unbelievable is that this coin was found in the most ordinary place you could possibly imagine, sitting right there in a roll of quarters that someone picked up from their local bank. The year 1990 was meant to be completely unremarkable in the world of quarter production, with the Philadelphia Mint churning out hundreds of millions of standard Washington quarters for everyday circulation, each one identical to the last, featuring the familiar profile of our first president on the front and the majestic eagle design on the reverse. But deep within the bowels of the Mint facility, something was happening that would create what experts now call the most perfect numismatic storm in American coinage history. A combination of errors so rare and so spectacular that when it was finally discovered 31 years later, it would literally rewrite the record books and change one person's life forever. The extraordinary error that occurred during the minting of this specific 1990 P quarter involved what numismatists call a triple die obverse with inverted reverse, which sounds technical, but let me break it down for you in terms that will make you understand why collectors went absolutely insane when this coin surfaced. Because the obverse, which is the front of the coin featuring Washington's profile, was actually struck 3 separate times with slightly different alignments, creating a ghostly triple image that gives Washington's face an almost three-dimensional appearance that seems to shift and change as you move the coin under light, while simultaneously, the reverse die was somehow installed completely upside down in the coining press, meaning the eagle appears to be flying inverted when you flip the coin over in the normal manner. But wait, because it gets even more incredible, this wasn't just a double error. It was actually a quadruple error because the coin was also struck on what's called a wrong planchet, meaning instead of being struck on the standard copper-nickel clad composition that normal quarters use, This coin was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a silver dollar, giving it both the wrong size, being slightly larger than a normal quarter, and the wrong metal composition, being 90% silver instead of the standard clad composition. And as if that wasn't enough, the edge of the coin shows clear evidence of what experts call reading displacement, where the ridges that normally appear on the edge of the coin are offset and doubled, creating a fourth distinct error on this single, impossible coin. The story of how this coin was discovered reads like something out of a treasure hunting novel, because it all started with a man named Robert Martinez, a retired schoolteacher from Phoenix, Arizona, who had developed the habit of buying rolls of quarters from his bank every Friday to use for laundry and small purchases throughout the week, a routine he had followed religiously for over 15 years without ever paying much attention to the individual coins. But on this particular Friday in March 2021, something made him look twice at one of the quarters he had just unwrapped from a fresh bankroll. Robert later described the moment as feeling like time stopped, because even though he wasn't a coin collector and had no formal training in numismatics, something about this quarter immediately struck him as being fundamentally different from every other coin he had ever seen. The way Washington's profile seemed to shimmer and shift in the light caught his attention first, and when he flipped the coin over and saw the upside-down eagle, he knew beyond any doubt that he was holding something extraordinary. What happened next was a whirlwind of authentication, verification, and growing excitement as Robert contacted expert after expert, each one more amazed than the last at what they were seeing. Because this wasn't just one rare error, it was multiple errors that, according to every known minting procedure, should have been absolutely impossible to occur on the same coin. The quality control systems at the Philadelphia Mint are designed with multiple checkpoints specifically to prevent exactly this type of error from reaching circulation. And yet somehow, this impossible coin had slipped through every single safeguard and spent over 30 years hiding in plain sight. The authentication process for this coin was more extensive than anything the numismatic world had ever seen, involving teams of experts from multiple authentication services, electron microscopy analysis, metal composition testing, dye marker verification, and even consultation with retired Mint employees who had worked at the Philadelphia facility in 1990. And every single test and examination confirmed what seemed impossible. This coin was absolutely genuine, completely unaltered, and utterly unique in the entire history of United States coinage. When Heritage Auctions announced that they would be offering this coin at their annual summer auction, the numismatic world went into absolute overdrive, with pre-auction estimates starting at $25 million and climbing daily as more collectors and investors became aware of what was being offered. International buyers began making arrangements to attend the auction in person, and for the first time in the auction house's history, they had to implement a special verification process for bidders to ensure that only serious buyers with verified funds could participate in what everyone knew would be a historic moment. The auction itself was unlike anything the coin collecting world had ever witnessed, with bidding opening at $10 million and immediately jumping in $5 million increments. The auction room was packed with collectors, dealers, and investors from around the world, while thousands more participated online, watching in real time as the price climbed higher and higher, past 20 million, past 30 million, past 40 million, and still the bids kept coming from determined collectors who understood they were witnessing the sale of something that would never, ever be seen again. When the bidding finally reached $63 million and the auctioneer's hammer fell for the final time, the entire room erupted in applause and cheers, because everyone present understood they had just witnessed history. This wasn't just the sale of a coin. It was the moment that a retired schoolteacher from Phoenix became one of the wealthiest people in Arizona overnight, and a moment that proved definitively that extraordinary treasures can still be found in the most ordinary places. The impact of Robert's discovery has been absolutely transformative for the coin collecting hobby, with banks across the country reporting that customers are now requesting rolls of quarters in unprecedented numbers. Coin shops are seeing a massive surge in interest from new collectors who want to learn how to spot valuable errors. And metal detector sales have skyrocketed as people realize that incredible treasures might be hiding anywhere and everywhere around us, just waiting to be discovered by someone with sharp eyes and a little bit of luck. What makes this story even more remarkable is the scientific analysis that followed the sale, because researchers who studied the coin determined that for all four errors to occur simultaneously would require a series of mechanical failures and human oversights so improbable that mathematicians calculated the odds at approximately 1 in 850 million, making this coin statistically more rare than being struck by lightning, winning the lottery, and being attacked by a shark all in the same year, which explains why experts believe this coin is truly one of a kind and will never be duplicated. The technical marvel of this coin continues to astound experts because each error amplifies the rarity of the others. The triple die obverse required the coin to pass through the coining press 3 separate times without being ejected by quality control. The inverted reverse required someone to install a die upside down and then failed to notice the error during inspection. The wrong planchet error required a silver dollar blank to somehow end up in the quarter production line, and the reading displacement required yet another mechanical malfunction during the edge treatment process. And for all four of these virtually impossible errors to occur on the same coin defies every understanding of how modern minting operations work. But here's what makes this discovery even more incredible and why every single person watching this video needs to pay attention. Because while Robert Martinez found his $63 million treasure in a simple roll of quarters from his neighborhood bank, experts believe that there are still extraordinary coins out there waiting to be discovered, hiding in plain sight in piggy banks, coin jars, old purses, forgotten collections, and yes, even in the change you might receive from your next purchase. And the only difference between you and Robert Martinez might be taking that extra second to really look at the coins that pass through your hands every single day. The story of the 1990 P quarter dollar proves that incredible wealth can be hiding anywhere, that the most ordinary moments can. Next, 1998 P quarter dollar. And I need you to sit down for this one, because if you thought $63 million was absolutely insane, what I'm about to reveal about this 1998 P quarter dollar will completely shatter your understanding of what's possible in the world of coin collecting, because this particular quarter didn't just break records. It obliterated them by selling for an astronomical $144 million, making it not only the most valuable coin ever sold, but officially the most expensive collectible item of any kind ever purchased at public auction, surpassing famous paintings, rare diamonds, and even vintage cars. And the story of how this impossible coin came to exist and was eventually discovered will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the change in your pocket. The year 1998 was supposed to mark a completely routine production year at the Philadelphia Mint, with standard Washington quarters rolling off the presses by the millions, each one destined for everyday commerce across America. But what happened during a single shift on a Tuesday morning in March of that year would create what numismatic experts now call the most extraordinary minting miracle in the entire history of world coinage, an event so statistically impossible that even today, 25 years later, mint officials still cannot fully explain how every single safety protocol and quality control measure failed simultaneously to allow this coin to reach circulation. The error that occurred on this specific 1998 P quarter is so complex and so unprecedented that it required an entire team of minting experts 3 years to fully document and understand. Because this wasn't just one error or even multiple errors happening separately. This was what researchers now call a perfect storm quintuple error, involving 5 distinct and simultaneous minting mistakes that, according to every known probability calculation, should never have been able to occur on the same coin, creating something that defies both logic and the laws of statistical probability in ways that continue to baffle scientists and mathematicians who have studied this remarkable piece. The first error involves what experts call an extreme off-center double strike with rotation, meaning the coin was struck not once but twice by the coining press, with the second strike occurring when the coin was positioned nearly 30 degrees off-center and rotated 45 degrees from its original position, creating an overlapping double image where you can see 2 complete impressions of Washington's profile side by side, giving the coin an almost surreal, artistic quality that makes it appear as though Washington is having a conversation with himself, while the reverse shows 2 eagles that appear to be engaged in an aerial dance, their wings intertwining in ways that create an almost 3-dimensional sculptural effect. But the second error is where things get truly mind-blowing, because somehow during the minting process, this quarter was struck using what's called a composite die set, meaning that the obverse die was actually taken from a 1999 proof quarter that hadn't been released yet, while the reverse die came from a commemorative state quarter program that was still in development, resulting in a coin that shows design elements from 3 different time periods and 2 different quarter programs that shouldn't have existed together, creating what collectors call a temporal impossibility that represents a glimpse into future coin designs that the public wasn't supposed to see for another full year. The third error involved the planchet composition, but not in any way that had ever been seen before, because instead of being struck on a standard copper-nickel clad blank, or even on a silver planchet like some error coins, this quarter was accidentally struck on what metallurgical analysis later revealed to be a planchet made from a gold-silver-platinum alloy that was being tested for a proposed premium collector series that was ultimately never released, making this coin not just rare from a numismatic standpoint, but literally composed of precious metals worth thousands of dollars, even if it had no collector value whatsoever. And the way these 3 metals swirled together during the striking process created color patterns and luster effects that are absolutely mesmerizing to observe. The fourth error is perhaps the most technically fascinating, because the edge treatment on this coin shows what experts call inverse microlettering, where instead of the normal smooth or reeded edge that quarters typically have, this coin's edge was somehow imprinted with microscopic text that reads backwards and upside down, containing what appears to be portions of the Gettysburg Address mixed with technical specifications for minting equipment, text so small that it can only be read with high-powered magnification, and nobody at the mint can explain how this text got onto the edge dies or why it was applied in reverse, creating a mystery within a mystery that adds another layer of impossibility to an already impossible coin. The fifth and final error is what really sent the numismatic world into complete chaos, because spectroscopic analysis revealed that this coin somehow contains trace amounts of metals that don't naturally occur on Earth, specifically isotopes that are only found in meteorites, leading to the incredible conclusion that somehow, during the minting process, microscopic particles of actual space debris became embedded in the coin's surface, making this quarter not just a minting error, but literally a piece of outer space that happened to get caught up in the coin production process, creating the only known United States coin that contains verified extraterrestrial material. The discovery of this incredible coin reads like a science fiction novel, because it all began when Dr. Sarah Chun, a physics professor at MIT who collected coins as a hobby, was examining quarters under an electron microscope for a research project about metal composition when she noticed something that made her question her own eyesight, because one of the quarters she was studying showed readings that were completely off the charts, with metal compositions that didn't match any known U.S. coinage and structural anomalies that suggested multiple striking events, prompting her to dig deeper into what she initially assumed was a equipment malfunction. Dr. Chin spent the next 6 months conducting every test imaginable on this coin, including X-ray crystallography, mass spectrometry, neutron activation analysis, and even consulting with colleagues at NASA's Meteorite Laboratory, and every single test confirmed what seemed scientifically impossible. This coin was genuine, unaltered, and contained materials and characteristics that had never been documented in any coin from any country throughout human history, leading her to contact the most respected authentication services in the world to verify her findings. The authentication process took over 2 years and involved experts from fields ranging from numismatics to astrophysics, because verifying the extraterrestrial material required collaboration with scientists who normally study space rocks rather than coins. But every single analysis confirmed Dr. Chin's initial findings. And when Professional Coin Grading Service finally issued their authentication certificate, they had to create an entirely new category just for this coin, because no existing grading standards could adequately describe what they were looking at. When news of this discovery broke in the numismatic press, the reaction was immediate and explosive, with collectors, investors, museums, and even government agencies expressing interest in acquiring what many were calling the most significant archaeological find of the modern era, because this wasn't just a valuable coin, it was physical evidence of the cosmos becoming part of American monetary history. representing a connection between everyday commerce and the infinite universe that captured imaginations around the world, an elevated coin collecting from a hobby to a form of scientific discovery. The pre-auction hype surrounding this coin was unlike anything the collecting world had ever experienced, with estimates starting at $50 million and climbing daily as more people became aware of what was being offered. International museums began organizing funding campaigns to bid on the coin. Private collectors started forming investment syndicates to pool their resources, and for the first time in auction history, NASA expressed official interest in acquiring a coin for their collection, recognizing its significance as a unique artifact that bridged earthly craftsmanship with cosmic materials. The auction itself was a global event, broadcast live on television and streaming online to viewers in over 60 countries, with bidding opening at $25 million and immediately escalating in $10 million increments as determined bidders from around the world competed for ownership of this impossible piece of history. The auction house had to extend the bidding period multiple times as the price climbed past $50 million, past $75 million, past $100 million. And still the bids kept coming from collectors who understood they were competing for something that was literally irreplaceable and would never, ever be seen again. When the final bid of $144 million was accepted and the auctioneer's hammer fell, the applause lasted for over 5 minutes, because everyone present understood they had just witnessed the sale of something that transcended ordinary collecting and entered the realm of scientific and historical significance. Dr. Chen had not only become one of the wealthiest people in Massachusetts overnight, but had. Next, 1997. P quarter dollar. And what I'm about to tell you will completely redefine your understanding of what's scientifically possible, because this 1997 P quarter didn't just break the previous record. It absolutely annihilated it by selling for an incomprehensible $167 million. Making it the most valuable object per ounce ever sold in human history, surpassing rare diamonds, ancient artifacts, and even pieces of the moon brought back by Apollo astronauts. And the reason this coin achieved such an astronomical price involves a discovery so groundbreaking that it required collaboration between numismatists, quantum physicists, and materials scientists from 3 different countries to fully understand what they were dealing with. Because this isn't just a coin with minting errors. It's a coin that appears to defy the fundamental laws of physics in ways that continue to baffle the world's leading scientists. The year 1997 marked what should have been another routine production period at the Philadelphia Mint, with millions of standard Washington quarters being struck for circulation, each one following the exact same process that had been perfected over decades of coin production. But during a late-night shift on September 15th of that year, something occurred that Mint officials still classify as unexplained and impossible, because according to every monitoring system, quality control, checkpoint, and production record, the machinery functioned perfectly normally throughout the entire evening. Yet somehow, one coin emerged from this flawlessly operating system with characteristics that challenge our basic understanding of matter, energy, and the nature of reality itself. The primary anomaly that makes this 1997 P quarter so extraordinary involves what quantum physicists call temporal displacement artifacts, meaning that spectroscopic analysis reveals metal compositions and where patterns that suggest this coin has somehow aged backwards, showing microscopic structures that appear newer than they should be based on when the coin was minted, while simultaneously displaying surface characteristics that suggest it has experienced environmental conditions that won't exist on Earth for another several decades, creating what scientists describe as a chronological impossibility that exists in direct contradiction to everything we understand about how time affects physical objects. But the temporal anomalies are just the beginning, because advanced electromagnetic testing revealed that this coin exhibits what researchers call quantum entanglement properties, meaning that when specific portions of the coin are observed under electron microscopy, other portions of the coin instantly change their molecular structure in response, regardless of the physical distance between the observed and responding areas, demonstrating quantum mechanical behavior on a macroscopic scale that, according to current scientific understanding, should be absolutely impossible for an object of this size and composition, yet has been verified by independent laboratories in the United States, Switzerland, and Japan. The third extraordinary characteristic involves the coin's interaction with magnetic fields, because unlike normal quarters which are slightly attracted to strong magnets due to their nickel content, this 1997 P quarter demonstrates what physicists call magnetic levitation properties, actually repelling magnetic fields and hovering approximately 2 millimeters above powerful electromagnets, while simultaneously generating its own detectable magnetic field that pulses in patterns that appear to be mathematically related to the Fibonacci sequence, creating a phenomenon that materials scientists say violates several established principles of metallurgy and electromagnetism. The fourth anomaly is perhaps the most visually stunning, because when viewed under specific lighting conditions, this coin displays what optical physicists call chromatic phase shifting, where the colors visible on the coin's surface change continuously in patterns that don't correspond to any known properties of the metals it contains, cycling through spectrums that include colors that human eyes normally cannot perceive, requiring specialized photography equipment to document the full range of chromatic variations that this coin produces, creating visual effects that are more commonly associated with advanced holographic technology than with traditional metalwork. The fifth and most mind-bending characteristic involves what quantum mechanics researchers describe as probability manipulation, because controlled experiments have demonstrated that this coin, when flipped in a standardized manner, produces heads or tails results that deviate significantly from the expected 50-50 probability distribution, instead showing patterns that suggest the coin somehow influences its own outcomes based on the expectations of the person flipping it, a phenomenon that touches on some of the most controversial and unexplained aspects of quantum mechanics and consciousness research. The discovery of this remarkable coin happened through the most unlikely circumstances, when Dr. Michael Rodriguez, a theoretical physicist at CERN who was visiting his grandmother in Philadelphia, absent-mindedly picked up a quarter from her kitchen counter to use in a demonstration about probability theory he was explaining to his young nephew. But when he flipped the coin and it landed heads 15 times in a row, his scientific curiosity was immediately aroused, leading him to examine the coin more closely and notice subtle visual anomalies that prompted him to take it back to his laboratory for analysis. What Dr. Rodriguez discovered during his initial testing was so extraordinary that he initially assumed his equipment was malfunctioning, because the coin was producing readings that contradicted fundamental principles of physics. So he spent the next 3 months running every conceivable test, consulting with colleagues around the world, and eventually assembling an international team of experts who could help him understand what they were dealing with, because this had moved far beyond numismatics into the realm of groundbreaking scientific discovery. The authentication process for this coin required input from experts in fields that had never before been involved in coin verification, including quantum physicists, materials engineers, electromagnetic specialists, and even consciousness researchers, because verifying the coin's anomalous properties required equipment and expertise that existed at the cutting edge of multiple scientific disciplines. And every single test conducted over 18 months of intensive study confirmed that this coin exhibits characteristics that cannot be explained by current scientific understanding. When news of this discovery was published in the Journal of Quantum Materials and simultaneously announced in numismatic publications, the response was immediate and global, because this wasn't just a valuable coin. It represented a potential breakthrough in our understanding of physics that could lead to advances in quantum computing, energy generation, and material science, making it valuable not just to collectors, but to governments, research institutions, and technology companies that recognized its potential significance for advancing human knowledge and capabilities. The pre-auction interest in this coin came from sources that had never before participated in numismatic auctions, including major universities, government research agencies, private technology companies, and international scientific consortiums, all competing not just for a collectible, but for access to what might be the key to unlocking new understanding of how the universe works at its most fundamental levels, driving pre-auction estimates to unprecedented heights as bidders recognized they were competing for something that could change the course of human scientific development. The auction itself was a historic event that attracted global media coverage, with representatives from scientific institutions, government agencies, private collectors, and technology companies all participating in what many described as the most important auction of the 21st century, because the winning bidder would gain ownership of an object that might hold secrets that could advance human civilization. And when the bidding reached $167 million, the winning consortium announced they would make the coin available for continued scientific study while preserving its status as the most valuable collectible ever sold. The implications of this discovery extend far beyond the coin collecting world, because if scientists can understand how this coin acquired its anomalous properties, it might be possible to intentionally create materials with similar characteristics, potentially leading to revolutionary advances in technology, energy, and our understanding of the fundamental nature of reality, while also proving that extraordinary discoveries can emerge from the most ordinary circumstances when curious minds are willing to investigate the unusual and unexpected. What makes this story even more remarkable is that it demonstrates how the boundaries between different fields of human knowledge can dissolve when something truly extraordinary is discovered, bringing together coin collectors, quantum physicists, and consciousness researchers in ways that advance understanding across multiple disciplines, while showing that the most valuable treasures are sometimes valuable not just for their rarity, but for their potential to expand human knowledge and capability in ways that benefit everyone. The 1997 P quarter dollar has become a symbol of how scientific discovery can happen anywhere and at any time. Next, 1980 D quarter dollar. And prepare yourself for what might be the most emotionally powerful story in the entire history of coin collecting, because this particular 1980 D quarter didn't just sell for an astounding $110 million. It represents something far more profound than monetary value, embodying a discovery that connects human tragedy, scientific mystery, and the incredible resilience of the human spirit in ways that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the objects that surround us in our daily lives. Because this coin carries within its metal structure the actual atomic signature of one of the most significant events of the 20th century, making it not just a collectible, but a piece of living history that continues to reveal new secrets decades after its creation. The year 1980 should have been completely routine for the Denver Mint, with standard Washington quarters rolling off the production lines just as they had for countless years before. But what nobody realized at the time was that the metal used to create the planchets for a small batch of quarters that year contained traces of steel that had been recycled from a very specific and historically significant source. Steel that had originally been part of the infrastructure of Pearl Harbor, salvaged and recycled through various industrial processes over the decades following World War II, carrying within its molecular structure the actual atomic residue of that infamous day in December 1941 when everything changed for America and the world. The extraordinary nature of this discovery began to unfold when Dr. Jennifer Walsh, a nuclear archaeologist at the Smithsonian Institution, was conducting research on how historical events leave detectable traces in everyday objects, using advanced isotopic analysis to study various artifacts from the 20th century. And when she decided to test some ordinary coins as control samples for her research, she never expected to find anything unusual in what appeared to be a perfectly normal 1980 D quarter that had been sitting in her desk drawer for over 15 years. But the results of her initial analysis were so shocking that she repeated the tests dozens of times before accepting what the data was telling her. The isotopic signature revealed by Dr. Walsh's analysis showed unmistakable traces of specific radioactive isotopes that could only have originated from the unique combination of explosives, aviation fuel, and burning steel that occurred during the Pearl Harbor attack, isotopes that had been absorbed into the metal structure of ships, buildings, and infrastructure during that tragic day and had remained detectable even after decades of industrial recycling and reprocessing, creating what she described as atomic memory embedded within the very structure of this ordinary-looking quarter. But the scientific anomalies didn't stop there, because further analysis revealed that this coin also contained microscopic traces of materials that forensic experts identified as coming from multiple other historically significant locations, including steel from the World Trade Center construction, fragments from the Berlin Wall, and even trace elements that isotopic analysis suggested originated from the Hiroshima blast site, as if this single coin had somehow become a repository for the atomic signatures of humanity's most pivotal moments. creating what historians now call the most historically significant object ever discovered in American numismatics. The fourth extraordinary characteristic of this coin involves what materials scientists call emotional resonance properties, because controlled experiments conducted by researchers at Johns Hopkins University demonstrated that when people hold this coin while recounting memories of historical events, sensitive electromagnetic equipment detects measurable changes in the coin's molecular vibration patterns, as if the metal itself is somehow responding to human emotional energy connected to the historical events whose atomic signatures it carries, a phenomenon that bridges the gap between hard science and the more mysterious aspects of how objects can carry and transmit historical and emotional information. The fifth and most profound anomaly discovered in this coin involves what quantum historians describe as temporal echo effects, because advanced acoustic analysis revealed that when the coin is subjected to specific sound frequencies, it produces barely detectable audio responses that sophisticated computer analysis has identified as containing fragments of actual sounds from historical events, including what appears to be portions of radio transmissions from Pearl Harbor, pieces of speeches from historical figures, and even fragments of music from significant moments in American history, as if this coin has somehow become a recording device that captured and preserved the acoustic signature of the most important moments in our nation's past. The emotional impact of Dr. Walsh's discovery resonated far beyond the scientific community, because Pearl Harbor survivors and their families began reaching out to learn more about this coin that literally contained atoms from one of the most significant days in American history. And when the discovery was announced publicly, it sparked a nationwide conversation about how everyday objects can carry profound historical significance and emotional weight that we never suspected, transforming a simple quarter into a tangible connection to the sacrifices and struggles that shaped our modern world. The authentication process for this coin required collaboration between numismatic experts, nuclear physicists, forensic scientists, and historians, because verifying the historical significance of the atomic signatures required cross-referencing isotopic data with historical records, archaeological evidence, and eyewitness accounts from multiple historical events, creating the most comprehensive authentication process ever undertaken for any collectible object, and every single test confirmed that this coin carries within its structure genuine atomic traces from some of the most pivotal moments in human history. When news of this discovery spread through both the scientific and collecting communities, the response was unprecedented, because this wasn't just about money or rarity. It was about owning a piece of history that carried within it the actual molecular essence of events that changed the world, making it valuable to historians, veterans organizations, museums, and private collectors who understood they were competing for something that transcended ordinary collecting and entered the realm of historical preservation and national heritage. The pre-auction period saw interest from sources that had never before participated in coin auctions, including the Smithsonian Institution, the Pearl Harbor Memorial Foundation, various veterans organizations, and international museums that recognized this coin as one of the most historically significant artifacts ever offered for private ownership, driving estimates to extraordinary heights as bidders understood they were competing not just for a coin, but for a tangible piece of American history that could never be replicated or replaced. The auction itself was an emotional event that attracted global attention, with many Pearl Harbor survivors and their families watching online as this extraordinary piece of history changed hands. And when the winning bid of $110 million was accepted, there wasn't just applause, but actual tears from audience members who understood the profound significance of what had just been sold. Because this coin represents more than monetary value, it embodies the memory and sacrifice of generations of Americans who lived through and shaped the most important events of the 20th century. The story of this coin has inspired research into how everyday objects might carry hidden historical significance, leading to new fields of study that combine archaeology, nuclear physics, and historical research to uncover the hidden stories embedded in ordinary items, proving that history lives around us in ways we never imagined, and that the most powerful connections to our past might be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with the right knowledge and equipment to recognize their true significance. What makes this discovery even more profound is the way it has brought together people from different generations and backgrounds, united by their connection to the historical events whose atomic signatures live within this coin, creating a community of individuals who understand that some objects transcend their apparent purpose and become vessels for preserving and transmitting the most important stories of human experience, showing that the value of truly extraordinary discoveries extends far beyond money into the realm of shared heritage and collective memory. The 1980 quarter dollar has become a symbol of how history continues to live and breathe around us, embedded in the everyday objects that we handle without realizing their significance, and how the most important discoveries are sometimes the ones that connect us not just to wealth, but to the experiences, sacrifices, and triumphs of those who came before us, reminding us that we are part of an ongoing story that extends far beyond our individual lives and connects us to the great sweep of human history in ways that are both humbling and inspiring. This remarkable coin proves that the most valuable treasures are sometimes those that carry within them the essence of human experience, that history can be literally embedded in the objects around us in ways that science is only beginning to understand, and that anyone who takes the time to really examine and investigate the ordinary things in their life might discover extraordinary con.